This is bpcc, brought to you by the Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Welcome to This is bpcc After Dark. I'm Jonathan Elmore, your host. I have with me the owners of JandW Music, Johnny and,
Wendy.
Johnny and Wendy, JandW Music. Now, Johnny is actually a student at Bossier Parish Community College. So, Johnny, tell me, I don't know where to start, but tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll start there.
Well, we've got to go all the way back then, 40 plus years. No, I'm really a local guy. I graduated from Captain Shreve, joined the military, and had my military career, and then I retired in 2010. And I started dabbling in musical equipment kind of after I retired in 2010. I was doing online and things like that, eBay, Reverb, and then Craigslist. And then it just kind of developed into something more. And so we started our own brick and mortar shop on base about a year and a half ago. JandW Music, there.
Cool. And so tell me a little bit about, so you went through the military and then you did all this and then you decided to go to bpcc and you're about to graduate. You're graduating this semester, right?
Correct. I'm graduating in December with mass communications.
And what made you want to come and do that?
Well, as far as the mass communication, I mean, it goes kind of with music. Music is a form of communication. Also, I have a lot of social media that goes on with the shop. I have a YouTube channel, JandW Music, and all the other social media that go with it. So mass communication really tied into what I was doing, and also helped, whether or not it was the Photoshop or photography classes to help do things to upload pictures and things like that, and also, like I said, do the YouTube channel.
Okay, very cool. And so what do you do on your YouTube channel?
A lot of the YouTube channel has to do with reviews and topics on the instruments or amps or just whatever kind of things I have here in the shop, accessories, things like that. But it's mostly reviews or reveals, and then talking about those.
Okay. So before we get more details in the shop, Wendy, how did you get involved? Do you play as well?
No, I do not play. No.
She plays piano.
Okay.
I'm a supportive wife.
And so, what do you do here at the shop?
I try to help out as much as I can. I'm not very musically inclined, so it's pretty much left up to him to do most of it. So I come up here, I clean, I sweep.
Keep him in order.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Do the decorations.
She's my support. I definitely couldn't have done it without her.
Very cool. And so, what made you decide to do a brick and mortar?
Well, that was just kind of the next step. I mean, it's kind of in my family's kind of genes anyway, as far as I have a business. My mom had a candy vending business when I was younger. My youngest sister close to me, her and her husband had a restaurant. My brother has an electronics store in Arkansas. So it was just kind of one of those things. And like I said, I had the website kind of going. So it was just the next kind of transition.
Okay. And so what, and can you play all the instruments you have here?
I'm a better collector than a player.
Okay.
But yes, I can play the instruments that are here.
What's your favorite instrument to play?
Well, I am definitely more into the electric guitars. I do have my own, collection that's not up here. So I'm stuck in that, in that 80s, MTV Headbangers Ball era. So rock and roll, heavy metal, that kind of stuff.
Cool. And do you help him with the social media stuff?
A little, not too much. He does a lot of all of this on his own. I'm just kind of the supportive person and just, try to give him some ideas the best I can.
She does plug a lot in, especially Facebook and other
Yeah.
places. She does.
I help
actually put a lot.
advertise.
Okay. And what all do you what all do you do on social media?
Like I said, Facebook page, and on those I list posts, even things for sale, just different general information about it. I have Instagram that also posts things to Twitter. So really all of those, just to kind of get the information out, if there's any specials going on or new product that I have coming in, or the same thing, if I have a new video on YouTube, it also has a link that goes to Twitter to let my subscribers know.
And so, tell me a little bit about your store. Like, what do you have here? What all do you offer?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're a full-service guitar shop. So, besides saying that, as far as having guitars, and we do new, pre-owned, used, and consignment, so anybody can bring their items in. We can also sell it for them. We also do lessons here, and later on you'll meet our instructor Gary Blake, but he does our lessons and also our guitar repair. So really full service, but we carry other instruments besides just guitar, and really we have Parkway just down the street, which they're known for their local high school band, and then even Elm Grove Middle School, but we're gonna start carrying more things that they need for their bands. So since we're just literally a quarter mile down the street, it'll be easier for all of the local, students to come and pick up their local band stuff.
Okay, so you're looking at getting trumpets, saxophones.
At least the maintenance stuff, maybe
okay,
not,
okay.
and we can order those, and we can even special order the full, instrument. But I think for us, we're going to start out at least for just the stuff that they need, as far as the mouthpieces, the reeds,
Okay.
the swabs, things like that.
And how long have you been at this spot?
This location, we just started at the end of October, so
About 3 weeks.
about 3 weeks now we've been in here. But as far as being a brick and mortar, a little over a year.
And I see you have a little stage back there. Do you have any plans for the stage?
Yes, we do. We're going to start doing open mic nights. We're thinking about doing twice a month, maybe on Tuesdays. Just having those, a place for people to come and try out their material. Like I said, it's not a very large place, but in saying that, that way they'll be able to come and play, kind of work their butterflies out on our smaller stage before they go, to a larger setting. Plus, we also use that for our students for the same thing. That way, they can kind of practice on the stage, before they want to maybe start a band with their friends or go perform out.
Do y'all ever do like recitals, like have all your students come together?
We have, as a matter of fact, we actually have several of our guitar students who are taking guitar and learning it for their senior project.
Oh, cool.
And that's actually part of it, is to be kind of recorded, to be filmed for it. And so we've been using the stage to record their senior project performance.
Oh, awesome. Okay. And I noticed you have drums. Do y'all specialize in drums as well?
We do have drums, and we carry their accessories, several other percussion accessories. Those particular drum kits that we have now, they're consignments. They're, again, we can special order anything that anybody wants, but those particular kits are consignment items.
And what do you like best about, or and what y'all can talk on this, what do you like best about like having your own business, especially a very cool guitar shop?
Well, for me at least, there is. I guess at first I would have said more freedom, but obviously I have less free time now than when I work for somebody. But I've worked for the government all my life since I was like 19 years old. I started out in the military, retired there, and then I worked for the VA after that, and then that's where I left the VA to open this. So I went from a very regimented schedule to something to where I had more input with, or so it's more freedom. I have less free time, but there's more freedom and more of my input that I can.
Right. And what do you like about it?
I like the hours. We get to spend more time together.
Cool. So you get to come and hang out and do lunch.
Yeah, I meet him up here for lunch, and when I go back to work, or I come up here on Saturdays when I'm off, or try to help out.
What how has the classes you've taken helped you with this and pursuing like your training?
Sure. No, mass communication. I mean, there's quite a bit besides even just the things I mentioned earlier, as far as Photoshop and even like where we're in the film classes, learning how to do YouTube videos and manipulate, um, images and try and for the video side. But I mean, there's a lot of audio and Pro Tools and things like that. So just in this degree program, I mean, it could help even the recording side of music, like say using Pro Tools and other things that'll really help the industry and things I can talk about to other customers when they come in. And
Did you take the Pro Tools class?
so far I haven't.
You haven't? Have you ever done any recording, or is that something that you?
That's something to look forward to in the future. Right now, I haven't done any recording. Most of all my play has been either home in the living room, or I've got a shop
In
my
the backyard.
where I keep my collection. Like I say, it's not in the house anymore where it can be kind of.
He's got his own little man
I
cave
got
back
my own
there.
man cave. So
What's the coolest or your most prized possession guitar?
well, as far as my number one, it's a carving that I had custom made, and I was the only one. At least the time when I ordered it several years ago, the guy said I was the only one to order like that. On guitars, I'm more of a reverse headstock guy, and I ordered a Jason Becker, but he's the one that actually replaced Steve Vai and David Lee Ross band. Okay. Steve Vai went to Whitesnake, but anyways, I got his signature guitar, but I had it done with a reverse headstock. But it's a nice ash body, natural finish. But anyways, since I had it custom made, I had to wait 10 weeks for it to come to me.
Oh, wow.
And everything. Everything else I bought has been kind of mass produced, but that's the only one that's been made for me. So anyway, that's the most expensive one I own too.
Okay, so before we take a break, one, I guess, real serious or somewhat serious question: How important is music to your life and how you feel it's important to other people's lives?
Well, for me, I mean, it's kind of an escape, a way to kind of let loose or let the day kind of melt away. I was talking to other folks, and nowadays kids or children, whatever, they're using video games. A lot of times they get frustrated playing video games, especially if you're not doing so well in the game or losing or whatever, but they're sitting there for hours. Where with music, I mean, you're actually releasing something. You're getting that the stress of that day away. You're not really adding to it. But that's our hope too, is that maybe music will come back as they really start taking the music programs out of schools. So anyways, I just rather have this kind of release and calming effect that music has.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's the same. I like music. Certain songs can take you back to certain times, and it's a nice little getaway.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've always felt that music speaks to you. Hear a song and feel that certain emotion, and I think it's very cool.
Yeah.
What music can do for people and for yourself.
Right.
It can take you back 20 years in an instant.
Very cool. Well, thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to come back with your...
He does our lessons and repairs. Mr. Gary Blake.
Mr. Gary Blake.
This is BPCC, brought to you by the Division of Communication and Performing Arts.
Welcome back to This is BPCC After Dark. We are here now with Gary Blake. He is a stand-up comedian, MC, musician, guitarist, vocalist, lead harmony, and keyboards. So he does a little bit of everything. He's also worked on some LA film prizes, so we'll get him to talk about that in a little bit. But first, Gary, tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into music and stuff like that.
Much like John, I was born and raised here. I got into music pretty serious into high school. I've been playing guitar 46 years, since I was 8 years old, because my dad couldn't play. He tried to play his guitar and he couldn't play, so he put it in the closet, so I naturally took it out because I was told not to touch it. So I took it out and played it, and I've been playing ever since. I took it serious. Some people think it's a joke, but I took it serious in high school as a way to meet girls. because the other methods weren't working. So I tried, and sure enough, you get responses. So you learn to play, and it just makes you more popular. As John spoke, music is a therapy for me. So I've just been doing it off and on and everywhere, and I've traveled a lot of places around the world. I'm ex-military in the Navy, and everywhere I traveled, music is a common theme. You see it everywhere, you hear it everywhere. You can't see a TV show come on or a commercial without music in the background.
Right.
So I just kept gravitating toward that. And for me, it's a catharsis. It's why to this day I really don't drink or smoke. I mean, when I'm having a bad day, music is my therapy. I can either play Andre Segovia or some jazz or classical, or I can crank it up and do Van Halen, what have you. And either way, that's my therapy. So.
Very cool. And have you played with any bands or?
I played with a lot of bands over the years. Not Dallas, Florida, different places. Good bands, bad bands. Probably more bad bands than good bands. Played with some guys here local that I knew, a band called Can Do. We play a lot over at Lee's Liquid Assets. And so I really enjoy just playing a lot of blues, and classic rock is a lot of my favorites. So and we can't really get the hair metal hair band thing going again anymore, because most of us don't have any hair anymore. So we'll just stick with that. And none of the people my age can sing the vocals anymore. So we stick with classic rock.
Did you ever go over and play with Jerry Beach or?
I did not get a chance to play with Jerry when he was really active over there. We were living in the Dallas area for a long time, and then we were down in Florida for a while. So by the time I really got back to Shreveport to the point where I could participate in that, he was largely inactive. And then I understand, after he's passed, it's a legend. I really wish I had an opportunity. I have played on that stage.
Right.
Have you been to?
I've been. Yeah.
That little pony wall up there, and it's a tight little fit. But
it's a little fit. I saw him play there a couple of times, and his daughter sing, and it was just
And he had his Thursday night jam over there, right? Yeah.
Oh, it was Monday night jam.
Was it Monday? Okay.
Monday
See?
nights.
Maybe that's why I missed him. But he was legendary.
Yeah. Very cool. How did you get into? So how did you end up here with Johnny?
Being ex-military, and my wife is retired, we get our prescriptions over there, and so just by chance going to get my prescriptions over there, and he happened to have the kiosk and what have you, and then he had the brick and mortar store, and I went in and just started talking to him, and I believe there was actually a student there, or a young lady, who was inquiring about lessons and such, and it was natural. I just started talking to her about it, and so next thing you know, John is like, well, why don't you start doing lessons over here? So we set up a room in the back, and it's kind of taken off from there. He and I have a lot of shared interest and a lot of interest in the same types of things with guitars and what have you, and I do repair because I worked in a music store for a while in Dallas. And so they sent me to Fender repair school to be a
Very
certified
cool.
tech. And I'd always worked on my own stuff anyways. And so it's just kind of a natural, and we're using it as a revenue stream, to offer full service in John's store.
So what do you teach? Like what genres? I mean, I know there.
Everything from, again, classic rock, blues, very popular, and country western, jazz. I have some students here in Shreveport who are really still into the old school jazz and stuff like that. So, I mean, I love all genres. I mean, I can do from Andre Segovia to classical to what have you. I really don't have too many people. Occasionally, I'll have some people that are looking to get that metal lick or whatever, that little Van Halen lick, and they can't figure it out. And so, I'll do that too. So whatever they want.
What is there one that you prefer over the other, or?
My preference is naturally blues. All forms, all genres of music really are based off of blues anyways, whether it's country western or classic rock or what have you. The blues scale covers everything. The chord progressions are very similar. So yeah, blues is probably my favorite.
Okay. Do you have a blues artist that you like?
I kind of go old school, and I really like old blues. I like B.B. King. I mean, it's just the talent that man had that people don't realize. I mean, they remember some of the classics that he recorded and that made him famous. but the man had a lot of talent. And
Yeah.
if you study what he did and how he coaxed the sounds out of his guitar, is just awesome. And someday, you know, I really wish I could get to that point where I could just so effortlessly just pull stuff out of the guitar that I've never heard before, and he could just do it without thinking.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I went to Bill Street, went to his restaurant, and he happened to come in that night.
Oh, wow.
And sat down and played, and like I didn't want to leave. I was like, I'm staying right here. Y'all can go
Wow.
down Bill Street. I'm staying right
Did you
here.
get a chance to meet him?
I didn't get to meet him. I was up on the balcony thing.
I never got to see him live. I had a chance in Vegas one time, and he canceled. Unfortunately, I guess it was health or what have you. So I never got a chance to see him in person, and I really wish I had.
Yeah, it was something I won't ever forget. It was very cool.
And so every show I do with the band, we'll find a way to get the Thrill Is Gone in there, somewhere in the set, either starting or ending or something like that. So, and I'll do the vocals on it. I'm sure I don't do it justice, but you got to honor B.B. King.
Yeah, indeed. So you also do the repair here. What all do you repair? What all can you repair?
A lot of common repair that we have here are setup issues. People have issues with setup, intonation, or what have you, and a lot of guitars that they buy through some of the mass retailers they're just not set up correctly. Or even if they are, especially a younger crowd, they'll start tinkering with it, and they'll get to the point where they don't know how to fix it and get back to the way it was. So a lot of the repairs are simply setup issues and intonation, what have you. Occasionally I will have some damage. I do have a couple of guitars in the back now where the headstock is split open or what have you. And fortunately it's along the grain of the wood, so I can fix it. And I was hoping I didn't have to break his heart and tell him, you know, if it's against the grain, it's almost impossible. But so yeah, I can get it fixed. And then and sometimes a little restoration, you know. And I think, as I told you earlier, certain restorations, if it's a true vintage guitar and has a certain monetary value, we really don't want to add modern hardware to it to fix it. So we want to keep that and keep the value of the instrument. But other than that, tuners get broken off. If you've ever played in a band and you're not the bass player will break the tuners off your guitar at some time or another, because they start getting wild and wiggy and they turn and crack, and there goes your tuners. It's happened to me, so yeah. And I fixed that, and we just replaced tuners on a girl's acoustic guitar.
Oh wow!
You know, and it really improved the performance. I got to admit, even John actually replaced those tuners. You know, he's taking some of the business, you know. So he's got talents he's not letting in on it.
He's letting you pretty much take care of it, though.
Yeah, I want to take care of that so he can run the business side of it. And again, he's passing out my card, and we're getting referrals for lessons and what have you. And it's starting to take off. I mean, word of mouth's getting around. I don't, from a lesson standpoint, I can teach theory. Some people want to know theory. For most people, it's incredibly boring. And some people, they're performing music theory and they don't know it yet. But certainly with younger beginning students, I try to shy away from the theory because I don't want them to get disinterested.
Right.
They want to learn how to play what they hear on the radio. So there are ways of doing that without taking too many shortcuts and keep them interested in it, especially the younger kids. You know, like if we have 10-year-old kids, you know, and if they're strong enough and they have the right hand strength, I'm going to start them out playing stuff that's fun. There are things, for lack of a better term, that I'll show them, like cheater chords or ways that they can play a little faster, and we'll work on their transitions or what have you. But mostly that's what it's all about. Just keep them interested, because music's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a chore. And I think anybody who's taken music or piano lessons like I did when I was younger, there was no more worse drudgery than being forced to go to piano lessons, because they would start you on theory and none of it made any sense, and I just want to play. And the instructor wouldn't let you do that. So I always vowed that when I started teaching guitar and people started asking me, you know, how to do this, that, and the other, I made it fun. I showed them how to do it. And if somebody wants to learn how to do a heavy metal lick or whatever, whether it's pinch harmonics or what have you, I'll show them that. I'm not going to hold anything back. I also want to make sure they have a decent foundation, because most people, they get better when they know why or how they're getting that sound.
Right.
The why and how they're getting the sound is the music theory. So I try to keep the terminology light and fun.
Very cool. And do you have an instrument that you prefer over others, or?
Well, certainly electric guitar, bass. I really enjoy getting a good bass groove going. I have not played bass in bands as a rule. I have substituted and played bass in bands, and it's a lot of fun. But you know, electric guitar and acoustics. You know, I just went over to Dallas with a family friend. Then they've got a new church going on over there, and so I went over and assisted them with their music program, and I'll probably start playing with them when I'm over in Dallas or something like that. So,
Cool.
And it was all I could do to not end, you know, the church hymns with a Van Halen lick. It was tough.
I bet.
I did play some, but not during the service.
Not during the service.
Yeah. Oh, they're regular people.
I mean,
They like
yeah,
the music.
They,
Just,
they might have, you know, got a kick out of it.
it's hard to get Amazing Grace to sound like that, you know.
Yeah.
But hey,
Very cool. And so you've worked with the LA Film Prize as well.
yes, yeah, I've worked with mostly with a young man, Colby Doler. He's I think probably every year that he's been in the film prize, he's had a top 20 film. In some cases, he's finished certainly in the top 5. I believe that was the case this year. We had 2 films, and Colby's was one of them. And then we had another one, Aria for Albrights. Alexander Jeffrey had directed that one also. And so yeah, I've been involved in the film prize, and it simply started out with, because I do stand-up comedy, you know, and people's like, oh, you need to start acting or whatever. And that seemed like, okay, well, I'll start trying to do that and get involved with the Shreveport Little Theater or what have you. But when I started to audition, or wanted to audition for that, they were between seasons and what have you. So what I did was I just started looking on Craigslist, back when you could look on Craigslist and the gigs, and then they had auditions and stuff set up. And so I responded, and I auditioned for one of Colby's movies. And it was Beaumont, which made top 20, and we did very well in it. And we filmed a lot of that actually out on my property. And Colby and his girl Taylor, you know, we developed a good friendship. And he wound up offering me a different role than I had auditioned for, which actually was better suited because Colby knows movies better than I do. And so he gave me a role that was different. And then one thing leads to another. And I don't act near as much as I participate, you know, in the crew, whether it's producing or putting, say, transportation manager, or I've been set director or stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, just whatever, you know how it is. Whatever you do, whatever you got to do to help make it work, and everyone has 10 titles. And I really enjoy the LA Film Prize. I enjoy seeing some of the talent. I have seen some incredibly talented people come through. And one of these days, you know, you're gonna see them on a bigger screen, and it'll be kind of fun. I guess it's kind of like, the analogy I use is like when Stephen King was first getting started, or Steven Spielberg, I should say. You know, probably no one figured he had a chance either.
Right.
And some people could say, hey, I worked with him on his first movie. And Colby Doler and that group, they have an immense amount of talent. So I'll support them in whatever way I can. We actually have a movie coming up. December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd coming up here shortly. I got to help them with. So.
Oh, very cool. Do you ever do any music for, like, do you write your own music? Or?
I write a lot of my own music. I did some acting in a movie called Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, and I played guitar in that.
Okay.
But as far as writing TV and film score, I have not done that at the film prize level. I have written a lot of music, but not that was incorporated into a film.
Okay, very cool. I think we could probably do a whole show on you.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Do you want to play us out a little bit?
I can. Which one did we have?
I know this one was.
Did you tune it up?
Yeah, I believe so. I hope so.
Oh, I don't know. What can we do here? Let's see. Ooh.
No, maybe not.
Just take a second. Just take a second. We'll get it tuned. Always that E string, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, some old school. Do you remember like Dan Fogelberg?
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
like we can do something like that. Okay, let's see. No, it's not. It's out of tune.
Very cool. Thank you for watching. We're come out and see Johnny and his wife and Gary out here at JandW Music, and we will see you next time.